Hello and welcome to DesignChat, the best live design discussion on the internet. I'm your host, Ryan McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Hoopajube and at DesignChat. Every week, we bring together some of the coolest people in the design community, and in this case, we're bringing them directly to Samata Mason, where we broadcast from every week, samatamason.com. Check them out. Very cool design agency in West Dundee, Illinois, who also happens to put out the CUSP conference. Last year was the second year where I met these fine folks, Emily Pilloton and Matt Miller. Emily wrote Design Revolution, here the book that they are on tour currently promoting, and we are in an Airstream trailer which they are taking around the country to promote the book instead of doing some lane borders, book signing and stuff that everybody does. No, they were smart. They got this cool trailer like 8 years ago. They were telling me, they'll tell me a little bit more, and you guys a little bit more about that story in a second. So welcome. We do a golf clap. Yay! Thank you for coming. We have a live studio audience. So welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We came to you in this case, but yeah, it's nice to be
So
back.
in the chat room, give us a quick thumbs up if everybody can hear us. I see an applaud. Yes. Yep. Okay, cool. Thumbs up. So glad to hear it. Okay. So why don't you just give us a brief rundown of what the Design Revolution Roadshow is in the book and a little bit about your history.
Sure. So I'll try and make it a short story. So 2 years ago, I founded an organization called Project H, which I talked a little bit about last time I was on the show. And my partner, Matt, is trained as an architect, and I went to school for both architecture and product design. We set up Project H in order to find ways to work in more humanitarian-focused ways instead of for very rich residential markets, a very rich clientele, privileged markets that both of us had been working for previously. So the Design Revolution Roadshow is actually one part book tour, one part lecture and workshop series, which we wanted to literally take the show on the road and show some of the products that are featured in my book. The book is kind of a compendium of products that empower people, as it says in the subtitle, and also a extended.
Give you a close-up.
There you go. Sort of an extended mission statement for Project H and the work that we do, and trying to find ways to work in more social impact-driven ways. So the roadshow, we started on February 1st in San Francisco. So we've been on the road for like 9 weeks already, and
wow.
we're in the home stretch. And yeah, we just, you said it perfectly. We didn't want to do this kind of traditional borders book signings. We felt like the things that are in the book really need to be experienced. They're tactile, they're functional. We wanted to bring them to the doorsteps of the next generation of creative thinkers, and then also to the general public to see and understand and critique the things.
And Matt, you were telling me earlier that you've had this Airstream trailer for 8 years.
I have. I bought it back in the day when I had a real job. Back living in Wyoming, working for this this residential firm. We were doing 10,000 square foot log homes on steroids, and that was it was at that time that I really got fed up with the profession and wanted to kind of reinvent it for myself. But yeah, I had this around for about 8 years now. Gutted it a long time ago. I was living in it for a while in Montana, and when we had the chance, talking about this book tour, it was just a no-brainer. I was like, let's hit the road.
Well, it started as a joke. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Every good idea starts as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's throw some stuff in a trailer and drive around for 3 months. And
yeah.
It ended up being the perfect vessel to do so.
Yeah, but it's true. These things are inherently tactile items. They need to be picked up. They need to be used. That's what they're meant for. Not just great press photos, but to actually be picked up. Yeah.
So you go around and you give lectures to college students and anyone else who will listen. So why don't we get into a little bit of how that sort of lecture goes and the things you cover, and we'll show you guys some of the objects that they're referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at every stop, we've been going to both universities that have design programs and then high schools. We ended up adding about 10 or 12 high schools to the itinerary because it's actually a pretty interesting discussion to have with 16-year-olds who are maybe just starting to think about what they're going to do with their lives, and to make the case that design is more than iPods and fashion, that it's actually a really great way to see the world and to solve problems. Excuse me. So, in every place we're doing either really short presentations or longer lectures, and the lectures are, well, we give a little bit of our background, and then there's a document that we wrote called the Design Revolution Toolkit, which is, you can download it as a free PDF. It's at designrevolutionroadshow.com/toolkit. And we wrote this document as a way to codify a lot of the ways that we have been working as Project H, and to give people some really like specific strategies where if you're a design student, if you're a design educator, if you're a design professional, you can start doing these things like tomorrow, and start working in more socially responsible ways. And so in our presentation, we go through a couple of those, and then give some examples of things in the trailer that really exemplify. So actually, do you want to grab one of the toolkits?
Yeah, grab one.
We have some of the print versions, and
Okay,
maybe
great.
we can talk about a couple of them in particular.
So on the side, they've got a number of milk crates that are sort of stacked up, white milk crates, and a lighting system behind there that it's all sort of, securely, screensaver's going to go, sort of put away in the trailer. So here's one of the books.
Yeah, so, if you want to show that. It's the same dimension as the book, and this was, we actually have to thank Sappy Paper, the paper company, and their Ideas That Matter grant program for forcing us to think about what print, we had to have a print component in order to get this grant from them. And so it actually forced us to think about something we hadn't thought about before, and like if we were going to print something, what would that thing be? So this was the result. And if you want to open up the book, there's a, or this book.
This one. Wrong book.
So there's a document in the book called the Designer's Handshake, which is this bright pink page.
Is it like a Boy Scout thing where you got to put two fingers on the
kind
wrist
of
or something?
We should have
You just
included
kind of spit
that.
in your palm.
Right,
Yeah. It's here we go. So there's a document in the book called the Designer's Handshake, which is kind of a Hippocratic oath, if you will, for designers, something that can guide the way that we work ethically to, provide some values for how we should work and how we can measure the impact of our work. So the toolkit started with that document as a springboard, and so there are 13 things in the Designer's Handshake that we then fleshed out into really specific tactics and strategies. So do you want to just talk about reinvent the wheel, maybe?
Sure.
Well, maybe
yeah,
here,
yeah.
I'll read all 13. How's
Sure,
that?
yeah.
Can you,
Oh,
or I
right.
can do it from either. It doesn't matter.
There you go.
Okay, so the 13 in here, and then maybe we'll just talk about a couple. Okay, go beyond doing no harm, which is sort of a nod to the first clause in the Hippocratic Oath, which is do no harm. Listen, learn, and understand. Measure, share, and teach. Empower, heal, and catalyze. Be optimistic but critical. Think big and have no fear. Serve the underserved. Don't reinvent the wheel, which Matt will talk about. Do good business with good people. Own up and repair. Don't do what you don't know. Always put the user first. I'm almost done. Be part of a greater whole.
So talk really quick about where these ideas came from. What led you in your previous professional lives? What events happened that forced you to sort of rethink how you were doing things and to come up with these solid ideas?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of mentioned earlier that I was working for a residential firm in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, doing these giant log homes, and these are second and third homes for really, really wealthy clients, and these clients would use these homes, maybe a couple months out of the year.
Let me just repeat. He said second and third homes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. It was such a squandering of resources, and both natural resources, but also design talent. I thought that ultimately, I don't know. It led me to kind of rethink what the design profession is, for myself. So I went back to grad school. I went to Cranbrook Academy of Art for an MArch, and started doing some affordable housing in Detroit, in one of the hardest hit ghettos in Detroit. From there, ended up with Architecture for Humanity, doing some work in Uganda, building schools, and then ultimately Project H. But I think it really is just kind of using our design talents for the greater good in a way. But it's more difficult, and it's more interesting, and it takes more talent to actually work on a $1,000 budget than an unlimited amount for a 10,000 square foot log home. So it really it's more of a challenge too. I think it really stresses our design talents in existence. So
Well, I think that's something that's common to a lot of these products in the trailer and in the book is that many of them come out of really, really tight constraints. And like I think I talked about this maybe last time I was on the show that, and I think that's a great example that a lot of the best design comes out of having really, really tight constraints. Whether that's a budget or that your user group has a $2 a day income or physical material constraints and with design for social impact, that's something that's much more common compared to the second and third log homes.
I think it's a great movement what you guys are doing for a couple of reasons. Just because it also sort of promotes what a designer is and how they can help, and the profession as a whole just doesn't have a good rap. And maybe not that it doesn't have a good rap. The public isn't really educated about it. So it's really great that you're touring the country with these tangible objects, brings me to my second point, which is right now we're living in such an exciting sort of digital time where everybody's so focused on digital and how we're interacting with gadgets and cell phones and all that, and it's very exciting and good and all that sort of thing, but having these objects in our hands brings us back to a tangible reality, brings us back to the problems that we have to deal with and struggle with on a daily basis. And people who are impaired or something like that, I'm seeing some objects around here that help people in that sort of need. So let's start going through some of those objects and maybe some of the more popular ones that you guys talk about.
Sure. Yeah, you want to grab...
I've got a ton of them sitting right behind me.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know even where to know to start.
So,
what's this right there? That's
here, we'll do some of the solar... We'll start with the super gadgety stuff and then work towards the low tech, I guess.
Exactly.
But it is true. I'm glad you mentioned that because yesterday we were on the local Chicago news and the publicity guy was like, "What do you have that turns on? Like, what do you have that's electronic that we can see when it's working?" And I was like, "Well, not really any. It is a lot of very kind of low tech, really simple solutions." So anyway, what I'm holding here is, I think some people may have seen this before. It's the Solio handheld gadget charger, basically. So there's 3 panels. It comes with a variety of attachments, and you can hook it up to power your BlackBerry, your iPod, whatever. So, and it has this really cool feature where it sort of looks like a flower. So you can stick a pencil up through the center and like plant it in your garden, and it'll look up at the sky like a lovely little solar flower.
So if you're out in the middle of the desert and you really need to send an email and your BlackBerry's dead, please, you need to tweet, please help, I'm stuck in the Mojave. That's your gadget.
This is your savior. Yep.
Yeah. And so the other end of the spectrum is the BOGO, and BOGO stands for BOGO, buy one, give one. This is really designed not so much for the developed world, but for the developing world. So solar flashlight, really kind of rugged plastic. It's almost oxymoronic, but rugged plastic design. So you buy one here domestically, and one is donated to someone in the developing world that actually needs it. So
by the company who manufactures it.
Exactly, yeah. So set it out for 8 hours during the day, and do your homework or whatever at night. Really, just it's an empowerment tool.
So the problem that it was fixing were that there were children who needed to do homework at night, but they were stuck in the dark. And needed to be active at nighttime, but didn't have areas or places they could go that had electricity. So this gave them then an opportunity to do their work after hours.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Is this the one laptop per child thing?
Yeah. So then, okay, this is an interesting one because we included a couple things in both the book and the exhibition that are begging to be critiqued, and I think this is one of them. I may have said this before too, that the objects in both the book and the trailer are really meant to be a benchmark in a way for like, okay, it's 2010, this is what has been done within design for social impact to date. Nothing in here is perfect. Some are more or closer to perfect than others, but this is one that I think we've included because we want people to be critical of it so we can do better. But what it is, I'm sure many people have seen it. It's the one laptop per child. It's an affordable laptop, super, super durable, intended for developing markets. I think it was Uruguay, the government bought one for all of their school children. So it has these little antennas. You can network them to each other and to a wireless network for networked instruction. It has a really interesting interface that's unique to this particular machine. But it was dubbed the $100 laptop. They never really got it to that price point. some of the criticism comes around, okay, you put this in a rural village in Uganda or wherever, and sometimes the children who live there maybe have never seen a laptop, but are really great with a cell phone, and so it's almost like maybe the wrong object was redesigned. Additionally, what this does nothing if you don't have good teachers who know how to use it. So there's a whole sort of bigger education question that maybe products can never really fully address. So this was one that I think definitely should be in the collection because it's worth talking about really critically.
Yeah, I agree, and it's been one that designers across the board, as we've been traveling, it's one that they gravitate toward because, again, great press photos, and it's all over the place. Billboards as you're driving along, but they see the thing like, holy shit, I've never actually seen one of these. And then they're like, it's tiny. How do you open it? I mean, and for a designer to kind of approach it that way, just imagine what that Ugandan kid is going to approach this thing like. Oh my God.
And actually, on this subject, I'm going to transition real quick. But Eric, if you can hear me, we've got an iPad here. Eric, can you rush it out to us in the trailer so we can see it? Because it's going to bring up an important subject. I was just listening to a podcast today that was talking. It's about technology, and they were getting on the one laptop per child thing, and the release of the iPad, which we have here. Thank you, Eric, our intern, Eric Stevens. Check out Beta Objects. That's Eric. And so here's the lovely iPad. I was going to tease that we were going to give it away tonight, but we obviously can't do that because Eric would no longer want to be my intern, and he'd probably sue me. But they were talking about this, and they brought up the fact that this might actually replace the idea of one laptop per child once they get the price point down to the right place. And it was also speculated today, there was a blog post that said the actual price for this, what it costs Apple to build it, is like around $260. So we're not really that far away. And what's interesting to me, and we talk about this a lot on this show, is the idea of touch screen interfaces. And that you really, like you mentioned with this product, you have to have a teacher there to teach the kids how to use it. It's not intuitive right away because there are operating systems that are in the way and physical connections and that sort of thing. And when we get into an object like this that has one connection, there's no other USBs. There's like one thing to charge it or maybe sync it with something else. Everything else is, oh, I see it, I touch it, I move it. It's a very sort of human interaction, and it brings us a little bit closer to our information and our data and that sort of thing. And I really think it's a good prediction that this could move into that area.
Yeah. Well, in fact, the second and third generations of the EXO laptop both had some sort of tablet component. And I mean, those are not in distribution yet, but I mean, you're right. It's, for me, the iPad is like so high tech, and like I want to wash my hands before I touch it. But in terms of the interaction, I think you're right. It is much more intuitive, and it doesn't have to come with like this is how you type on a QWERTY keyboard, and this is Control Alt Delete means this. It's a much more sort of I see it, I touch it, it moves, whatever. Yeah.
So what other objects? Now let's go extremely low tech. No
right,
power, nothing. What do we think?
Oh, here we go.
Glasses.
Oh. Can we do these?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a couple play things, which are super low tech. There's another stuffed animal back there if you can grab it. You can put that over there. So, I mentioned I was on the.
What in the world am I holding?
Oh, June.
It looks like a hot dog.
Yeah.
You like that?
This is June.
It's not a doggy treat, June bug.
Oh, you could chew on it if you don't chew it too much. So, okay, these two things here are they're Plush Toys. They're made by a company called Giant Microbes. So the one that you're holding is a stomachache germ, magnified by like God knows how many million times.
It actually says stomachache on the tag.
And this one's common cold. If you wanna.
Hello to the common cold, the avian flu. Looks like that.
There is a bird flu one, yeah.
There is.
There's a bird flu?
There is. There's all kinds of, there's mono and Ebola. Here, June.
Great.
So, okay.
Chew on the Ebola.
Have a stomachache. No, not really. So these are, they're kind of cute and fun and whatever. But they're kind of an engaging and fun way for kids to understand like what's going on in their body. And there's a couple, there's an HIV plush toy and an Ebola plush toy that are used in parts of the developing world in clinics as therapeutic devices, but also as a way to sort of, give kids something tangible to understand their symptoms. We had a 6-year-old come through here a couple of weeks ago, and he saw these, and he's like, "I have the mono one. It's pink and it has eyelashes." And I like these because they're fun, and design can be fun, and that's not a bad thing. So. That's one, and then like
This is one I'm really excited about.
yeah, this is like as low tech as it gets, I think. This is the DIY soccer ball tape. So
Or if you're English, the football tape.
football. So basic like packing tape printed with the traditional hexagonal soccer ball pattern, and then you just take. We made these out of plastic shopping bags that we balled up and then wrapped it in the
You could
tape.
put one of these in there.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
So you steal it from your sister. You steal her plush toys and you wrap them up in the tape. And then for kids who are in underdeveloped areas and can't buy nice soccer balls, they don't have FILA sponsorship. They can have a soccer ball, something to play with.
Yeah, or even rich kids who are used to having to go out and buy everything. People can still make their own stuff, and I think that's why I love this. Is it says to people like you don't have to go buy everything. You can actually make things. You can make them your own, and you can stuff them with things that you would otherwise throw away. So yeah, one of my.
So
favorites.
instead of a piece of garbage going to fill a landfill, it can live on and provide another
as
use.
a soccer ball, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Matt, you want to talk about these?
These are cool looking.
Sure. Here,
But you got to put them on.
I gotta rock them.
Yeah.
They're actually
Alright.
not too far.
And you got to get really close to the screen. Say hello to the DesignChat people. Hello.
What's up? All right, let's see. These are actually already set for my prescription, I think. Nice. So the idea behind these actually is that there's a double membrane system of Mylar inside of the plastic itself. There are syringes you can see here filled with a silicone oil, and that silicone oil is pumped into and in between those two layers of Mylar, essentially changing the prescription, literally changing the prescription of each eye as you increase or decrease the amount of silicone oil. So
the oil pushes the lenses further apart from each other
Right,
and
well,
then
it changes
retracts them in.
It changes
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
concavity, right?
yeah, you got
Okay.
it. You got it. And then you can actually see here, it'll tell you your prescription when you finish.
So who is this intended for?
Them?
So intended for developing markets where one of two or both things happen, where you either don't have access to an eye doctor who can fit you for prescription lenses, or you cannot afford them. So you can you don't even have to have a medical practitioner around. You could buy a pair of these, set them yourself, and then there's pins that screws the there's a little tube and it pinches that into place, and then you can remove the syringes.
I'd really like to see a study on these of actual practical implementation, because I know as a kid, like when you're a kid and kids are rude, kids are just mean and they pick on each other, and all of a sudden you're like 5 years old or you're 8 years old and you're getting in your first classroom, you realize you can't see. Getting glasses was hard enough in a regular classroom, but these things are downright friggin' comical. I mean, they almost look like a Homer Simpson sort of contraption,
Yeah.
And like the kid who's sitting in the back of the classroom who has to like, okay, get out, look at the screen now, and the kid who kind of like sheepishly pulls them out of his pocket and puts them on in the back of the classroom, hoping nobody sees them. Either you're a bigger dork or you're the coolest kid in the world, because it looks like the glasses can rocket off of your face.
Yeah, I mean, alternatively, if you're the one kid that can see, and
Yeah.
because really a lot of these have been distributed to children, because there's like a huge percentage of children that have sort of, is it astigmatism or anyway, a lot of them have gone to school children, and
In the developing world.
in the developing world, yeah.
I even love the style of them, that they're like almost perfect circles,
That's the best part. I mean, that kid sitting in the back of the class is bound to be a designer when he grows up.
Or an
Yeah.
architect, yeah. Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah. No, Corbu. There's a
Corbu,
total
yeah.
Corbu. Yeah.
Philip
Johnson.
Philip Johnson, yeah.
I wish we could like put them on the camera and like adjust to like focus on us.
It's amazing, yeah. So,
We'll figure that out for next week.
Yeah.
I promise. So what else?
you want to grab the fire extinguisher?
Yeah, sure.
There are objects all around us. They're on the walls, they're on the cabinets, they're on the ceiling, they're all over the place.
Okay, so this is one of Matt's favorites. This is the Home Hero fire extinguisher. So, and designed and distributed only through Home Depot. But I love this one because, you think about where your fire extinguisher is in your home, if you even have one. It's big, it's red, it's ugly, it's probably underneath.
It's in the basement, it's under the stairs,
Yeah.
and it is closed away by the kitty litter box so nobody can see the
because
ugly object.
God forbid you would have it out on your counter, like ruining your decor. So this was a purely an aesthetic redesign. Matt says it looks like a toaster. It's very sleek. It's a beautiful object, and so the idea behind it is, you know, because it's more beautiful, you're more likely to have it somewhere handy when and if you need it. And you know, we've gotten into a lot of discussions with people about like where do aesthetics fit into this? Like a lot of the things that you see designed for the developing world or for social impact are often ugly or not the most beautiful, but this is a really great example of how you can use aesthetics with purpose, aesthetics that enable something and that have an impact because they're more beautiful.
I think the next design challenge in this particular object is going to be dealing with the lawyers who tell us that all of this type has to go right on the face, and how do we hide that and make sure that the lawyers are okay. Instructions are good. I don't mind instructions because then we get pictographs, and those are fun. But all of this, we need to find a way to make that disappear.
Well, and it has a pin that goes in here. Someone actually decided that they were going to try this out, like a couple of weeks into the road show.
In the trailer?
So
there's white over
there was white stuff on
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you haven't had the pleasure of actually using it yet?
No,
Not yet, no.
Not.
Okay.
So we have our red one actually back.
Right, hidden
In the back
Not
of the trailer, in the
We
closet.
should
It's
put
hidden
it up
somewhere.
there like before and after maybe.
Yeah.
All right, a
Yeah.
similarly shaped object, but probably serves a completely different purpose.
Yes. So this is probably live straw too.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of water filtration devices. The Brita water filter, which is I think everyone knows, and you could go and buy it at anywhere basically. And then we have this. This is the Lifesaver bottle. This is a kind of an expensive. It's $100+, but filter and bottle in one. So you know it has this like handy little pump thing, and you fill it up, and then you pump this thing, and then it filters the water through this chamber into an exterior chamber, and then you drink the clean water through the top. So kind of a REI/Army grade.
Total gearhead kind
Yeah,
of thing.
right,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah, and then again, I get the other end of the spectrum. This is the Life Straw water filtration system, and basically it's as simple as that. It's kind of self-explanatory. You stick this end in a puddle or a pool of water that you're not sure about. You stick your mouth on this end and you suck. And basically, as you suck, the water is filtered through a series of chambers, and apparently comes out clean on the other side. Although I have yet to test it.
well, this is another one like the one Laptop for Child that I think everyone has seen the beautiful press photos for, but
yeah, the little Kenyan kid like sitting in
with the bowl of muddy water, and you know. We've gotten a ton of critique on this one, which we had the same critique that you don't know when it's working. There's no like litmus test to tell you that it's working, and then additionally, you don't know when it stopped working. They say it's 10,000 liters, but unless you're like taking a very diligent count of how much water you're using, when do you know that it's no longer working?
Well, Matt, we have a perfect opportunity because it sounds like you haven't actually made use of this. Right behind us, outside this window, not even like 200 feet, is the Fox River, and it's moving, and it's kind of brownish water that I don't know if I take my chances with.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I actually took this Life Straw to Uganda with me for 6 months, and when I first got there, I wouldn't use it, and it was that kind of aha moment, and it wasn't until I got there I opened it up, and I thought about actually using it. And I just couldn't do it because there is no way of testing it. And so, for me, the problem is that it's good enough for them design. It's a beautiful object, and it's good enough for me to give to that poor Kenyan kid who really does need the water. Yeah. But, after 5,000 liters or 10,000 liters or whatever, when this thing doesn't tell him that it's no longer good, he's gonna be the one dying from diarrhea. So that's hugely problematic.
So again, another flaw that is in these objects that needs to be shown to people and talked about and figured out, how do we solve this problem now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What else?
So after this show, we're going to be taping him in the river drinking the water.
see if that happens.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Not like
This, I think, is the Braille.
Yeah, so then there's a couple kind of educational products that we have, and this is one called Tactiles. It was designed by a guy named Kevin Murphy, and these are Lego-style bricks that help children with visual impairments learn Braille. So show the other side where the front, yeah. So on the front side of those bricks is the letter or the number, and then the top is the Braille translation. And this is one of, like, the little module that you're seeing here is one of, like, 20 or 30 that comes in a full set. So letters, numbers.
I feel like Vanna White. Hello.
Yeah, there you go. Hello. You can actually use
How
this.
do you think I feel? I've been doing this for 9
I
years.
know, we're total circus workers.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. We just need, like, a monkey and some fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just a kind of a genius solution to well, and this actually came out of the guy Kevin Murphy that designed this. He has 2 children who are both blind, and so this was really a great story, something that started from something very personal that ended up being a great solution for a whole demographic of children. And actually, they've used this in university applications too. You can compose music and do, like, very advanced mathematical equations. Yeah.
How would you compose music on this?
Well, we don't have the right bricks. We'd have to have, like, the treble clef and the, you know.
That's a different Lego set.
It is. It's a
We'll buy it
different
at
module.
Christmas, right.
So yeah.
So real quick, I'm just gonna check in with the chat room. It's a little different experience tonight because I'm so far away from my computer. I can't even tell what's going on in the chat room if you guys are even enjoying this. I hope you are. So I'm getting close just to say hello and make sure that everything is going okay. And also to announce that this is our 3rd week on Vocal. And what this means for our participants is a couple different things. You can ask text questions just like we were doing in previous versions of DesignChat. And this time when you submit a question, we read it and we approve it, and then your text will appear on the screen. But you can also submit video questions, which we're extremely excited about, because what this means is you guys as participants get one step closer to one-on-one communication with all these cool people that we're bringing you tonight. So if you want to submit a video question, what happens is you click that red button to the right of the screen that says submit a question, and then you give us a little description about what you're going to ask. Our screener will check in with you and make sure that your audio and video is working, and then we hit OK, and boom, you're going to be live video chatting with us right now, and you can ask a question one-on-one. So we're very excited about this. Please ask questions tonight. We're very much looking forward to it. Another announcement that I want to make real quick is that DesignChat is starting a weekly poster challenge, a weekly poster contest. So what we're going to do is every week, so the shows are on Wednesdays, and on Thursday morning we are going to announce what the theme is, and that'll appear on our site, DesignChat.info, and then we'll have a video clip of one of our previous guests, and the theme is going to be on that. And then you go to DesignChat.info/poster or contest. I can't remember which one it is. It's on the site. You can find it. You're smart people. And then you submit your poster. You can make it any way you want. There's a template you got to download. It's got to be a 5:3 ratio. Your final JPEG is 500 by 300 pixels. And then people vote on it. There's little stars underneath it. It's very cool. And what this does for you, if you submit, is it's going to make you famous. No, it's going to get you known in the design community, because when you win, on Wednesdays during the live show, we're going to announce who you are, show your work, tweet out your name, put you on the website, and people are going to love you in the design community. So very cool, very excited about it. Please submit as soon as you can. The first one has to do with a quote from Mirko Ilic. Very funny. Please watch it on the site. So Gary submitted a design already. I love you, Gary. Garific, you were the man. At Garific, follow him. He's very funny. And he tweets a lot of cool design stuff. So everybody follow at Garific. All right, so that's announcements. It sounds like we're good. Everything's thumbs up. All right, good.
Questions?
We're going to do questions in probably 5 more minutes. I can see more questions lining up, but we're not quite ready yet. So are there any other objects real quick that you guys want to grab? What's this prosthetic one that I'm seeing here? Is that a fun one, or are we going to... Oh, wait, no, the one you have. Yeah.
Okay, so
It
this...
looks like a spaceship.
/snowboard binding.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the spider boot. These were recently worn by Stephen Colbert on his show that I went on. And
yes, I forgot to mention that. Congratulations on that.
So he's insane and walked across the stage wearing these. These are it's footwear.
This particular one?
That specific one.
Stephen Colbert's foot was right in this?
Yeah.
You're kidding!
I believe it got stuck
Stephen,
in that,
I'm one
actually.
step closer to you, buddy.
Creepy.
That wasn't weird at all.
No, you're gonna be like licking them. So.
Right, yeah.
So, used by landmine detection teams. So you have your regular shoe or boot or whatever. Oh, Junebug is very
Junebug
interested.
likes it.
Yeah.
She can smell Stephen.
So you put your foot in here, and what it does is it distances your foot from the ground, from the source of the blast. If you were to step on a landmine,
And it shoots you up in the air like a rocket man.
but it wouldn't blow your leg into a million pieces.
Nice.
Because the biggest danger is actually the shock waves, not the shrapnel, for example. So this distances your foot from the ground, and then it also spreads your weight out on these 4 points instead of just 1 foot.
Cool.
Yeah. Pretty burly.
Very burly, and they're so cool. I just want to walk around in them.
What else do we have? You want to do Think Positive?
Think positive?
Yeah.
There you go.
This one's all you.
Yeah?
You're good
Okay.
at talking about this one.
Oh, I guess. So, Think Positive, basically, if you think, again, I'm onto the residential kick here. Think about your toilet. The holding tank on the back of your toilet, a typical residential toilet, holds 1.6 gallons of water. Every time you flush, you're flushing with 1.6 gallons of potable, drinkable water. This is not a water fountain, but it is a hand washing sink. So every time you flush with the Think Positive on the back of your holding tank,
So this sits on the back of your toilet.
This sits on the back of your toilet. You're able to wash your hands when you flush, and then the water, the gray water that you just washed your hands with, is then going to be used to flush the toilet the next time.
Yeah.
So you're sort of double using that water in a way. You're flushing gray water as opposed to flushing drinkable, potable water.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And it's also, it has this amazing kind of psychological effect because you actually see the 1.6 gallons that you're wasting trickling out of this, which runs for like 4 or 5 minutes, which you don't see. You flush the toilet, you walk away.
So what happens is you flush, and then the water that would just fill the tank is now coming out of the tank and into the sink, and which you then have the opportunity to use while it runs.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also reminding you to wash your hands. I mean, you flush and it starts running, and you feel bad, hopefully, for not washing your hands if you walk away.
Right.
Yeah. But this is one that these are used.
Have either of you used it?
I have actually.
You have?
Yeah, I have. This is
There's no toilet in the Airstream, so
No, yeah, we don't have a bathroom.
Is
in
it
our
weird,
kitchen.
like sitting on the toilet and like backwards and trying to get over it?
Well, hopefully you're done and you're standing up at that point when you flush, right?
Right, but you've got this obstacle now that you sort of need to go over.
Oh well.
Yeah. There are a couple versions actually. There's one that mounts on the wall, so it's it's more of kind of like a grotto, right?
Yeah.
So it still works in the same fashion. You're still washing your hands, and that water's being used, but it's separated. So yeah, a little different version.
They're used all over Japan, but there's actually.
And that's for space saving.
Yes.
Right. So you don't have to have a separate external sink.
Right. Right.
And they're also at the Good Hotel in San Francisco, which is one of the Joie de Vivre hotels, which is awesome. They have those in all their rooms. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. It looks like we've got a couple questions lining up. You know what, guys? Really, you got to get on this. Start asking some questions because we're going to turn off the camera and then they're going to be gone. All right. So let's talk about these ones. I always like this story.
Yeah, these are just beautiful. These
they're
are
really cool.
Mesu, M-E-S-U with an umlaut. They're portion control bowls, and they were designed by this amazing graphic designer named Jennifer Panapinto. And this started as something that was a way for diabetics and diabetic children to measure how much of something they were eating at any given time. But the graphic treatment's really beautiful. So you want to show that one. So the symbol in the middle, it's 1 full dot and 1 half dot. That's a cup and a half. Compare that to this is a cup and a quarter. So
when they're stacked
There you
in
go.
your cabinet, you can see it on the side too.
Yep.
So a cup and a half.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're ceramic, so they have some weight to them, and they're just really beautiful objects, I think. I'm surprised they haven't gotten chipped yet, knock on wood.
Right,
But
yeah.
So.
Don't jinx it. Well,
Yeah.
a very important time for that to be coming out when we're dealing with, child obesity in America and people not really well educated on food, portion control and the right types of foods, and and it to really sort of like it's a visual. If that's in your kitchen, it's a visual reminder every day of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Any other objects you guys want to hit before we do questions real quick?
I don't know. We got a lot of them.
We got a lot of them. We sure did. All right, I'm going to check on the questions real quick and see how we're doing. We've got 4 lined up. Okay, we've got 3 text questions and 1 live video question. All right, we're going to start with the text. This one's approved, so we're going to take it from Gary Holmes. Did Lego help with the production of the Braille device?
No, they did not. Not because, I actually don't know if Kevin Murphy has even talked to them about some kind of partnership. But these are interesting because they don't stack quite in the same way. I mean, they sort of do, but they don't have that like tight connection because they're meant to be used with the board more than anything. More on the board than on top of each other. So no is the answer.
The answer is no. All right.
But it's a good suggestion. I should ask Kevin.
Okay, next question comes from DesignChat Links, which is Andrew Tibbetts. Everybody loves Andrew Tibbetts. Check him out on Twitter at Andrew Tibbetts, Tibbetts. He asks, I missed parts of your cusp presentation. Can you retell the whole doorknob story? I thought he was going to say, can you retell the whole thing? The doorknob story is great. It's a great one.
The doorknob story, yeah.
It's a good story.
Well, Matt told us about his like ethical evolution, he calls it. For me, it was more of a watershed moment, which involved a doorknob. So I went to, I said this before, but I went to UC Berkeley for architecture, School of the Art Institute of Chicago for product design, and then out of graduate school had like tens of thousands of dollars in loans. Still do. And
still do. Very bitter. Still do.
Yeah. And got a job because I needed it, and was working for some product design companies, some furniture design companies, and then ultimately ended up working for a retail clothing company based in San Francisco, and I was their store designer. So I was in charge of like all the fixtures and the pegboard displays and any of the sort of furnishings. And I only worked there for 3 weeks, and 3 weeks into it, I was in a meeting, like arguing very, very passionately with my colleagues about which doorknobs we should select for the following year's store renovations. And this was my like aha moment where I realized kind of all at once how much my own role as a designer and a lot of design in general had just become very misguided and so like disconnected from things that really mattered. So I quit that job the next day, and it's the last real job. It's the last time I had health insurance for sure. But yeah, so hopefully that'll change soon. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Knock on wood. All right. Next question comes from Beta Objects, who asks, where has been your favorite stop other than Chicagoland, of course, because this is an awesome thing, so far? Auburn, Alabama, or Louisiana?
Who's asking this? Did they know that's what I would have said?
I think they might have.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we really enjoyed going through the South. Because, we started this tour in San Francisco. I'm from San Francisco. There's such a culture of design in San Francisco, and it was a great place to do the, like, media kickoff. But there's a lot of hype around design in San Francisco, and not that that's bad, but we really wanted to get out into the rest of the country and talk to students that, aren't so immersed in that kind of, like, uber-concentrated design world. And we went to the University of Louisiana in Lafayette 2 days after Mardi Gras, and then Auburn and Mississippi State, and then Savannah, and it was that stretch I think that was really like surprising and wonderful. NC State, yeah, okay. NC State and University of Texas in Austin, so like that whole stretch.
What was surprising about it?
There was just like no pretension at all. There was a lot of really, really smart students who worked really hard, who knew how to build things, who had this like very like real approach to design that was aware of local context too. I mean, that was one thing that when we were in Lafayette, at Louisiana, like people knew what was going on in their community, and a lot of their design projects reflected that. It wasn't this like pie in the sky rendering. They hadn't really thought about where it fit into to a user group.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Great question. Great question. So now we're going to do a video question. We've got one lined up. Guys, you don't have a lot of time. This is nearing the end of the design chat. Get your video questions ready. So we're going to accept a video question from Dan Shapiro, fan of the show.
They said you'll get feedback
through
video.
Oh, because if he speaks,
questions?
It's going to echo, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, technical sidetrack. I guess because then they're not going to hear it.
You can repeat it back to us. It's fine.
Let's try it once, and if it's bad, I'll plug him in.
Okay.
Let's just go for it. Dan, you're on. Ask your question.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's going green. Us as designers, we have a responsibility to do that. Such as eco... Okay, I keep hearing my echo and it's throwing me off.
Okay, sorry. So
Okay.
it doesn't work.
Plug them in. I'll give you to them from here, Ryan.
Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about our responsibility as designers. So, we have eco-friendly paper, eco-friendly inks. What's our next step?
Okay, awesome. I think I wrote specifically in my book about going beyond, going green.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh, thanks, Dan. I actually think talking about things from a purely green perspective is incredibly limiting and in some cases irresponsible. Before I started Project H, I was the editor of a blog called Inhabitat, which is a really great publication around green design. And they do a good job of balancing sort of the environmental aspects of, Junebug!
Everybody say hi to Junebug.
Hi, Junie. Sorry. So,
My bad.
what was I saying?
They do a good job.
Yeah, a good job of balancing kind of the social aspects of sustainability with the environmental aspects of sustainability. But I think all too often it's really easy for us to talk about like the bamboo coffee table that costs $5,000 as this great feat of sustainability because it's made out of the greenest material, and yet it's still very much focused on this like luxury market for 1% of the population that can afford it. So for me, I think the next thing is not going green. It's being more sort of holistic in our approach to sustainability and recognizing that there are things like the hippo roller, which is water transport barrel that's used in the developing world, which is made out of plastic, which on one hand sort of sucks, but it has this amazing social impact, and it can only be made out of this one grade of plastic in order for it to work and to have that social impact. So there's this push-pull between what we're making things out of and what we're making in the first place that I think we need to be a little bit more sensitive to, and not just hear like, it's made from recycled whatever, but it's still some ridiculous thing we don't need.
I know we told the hippo roller story the last time you were on, but it's a really great one. I think a lot of people should hear it. So why don't you go through a little bit of the history of that real quick?
So the hippo roller is a water transport barrel. It holds 22 gallons of water. It was designed 15 years ago by two South African men, and it has since been produced and distributed in and around Johannesburg, almost exclusively in South Africa, because it's a big ping pong ball. It's expensive to ship. But what it does in communities, it has this fantastic sort of secondary social impact where...
Can't hear us at all? Just go louder? Okay. So you just got to speak louder.
So in communities that have this thing, usually women and children are carrying water either on their head, in jerry cans. Often they have to go like 2-3 times a day because the water sources are very far away and they can't carry enough at any given time. So places that have the hippo roller, you're able to go like once every 4 days instead of 2-3 times a day. So the social impact is profound. The women and the children who are usually the ones going to fetch the water now have more time. They have time to start businesses, to and then secondly, it's actually the men who step up and want to use the hippo roller because it's this big burly thing that's like very manly and like, oh no, honey, I'll take the hippo roller and go get the water. So this really functional object actually has this totally like secondary social impact.
It was really interesting because we put up a blog post about announcing your show that you're coming to Samana Mason, and just this morning there was a comment that was put on the post that was completely in Spanish, and it popped up on my phone while I'm commuting to work this morning, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I didn't really think about it all day. It was near the end of the day when I was trying to wrap up and get out of here. I went back. I was like, I got to know what this guy is saying. So I copied it and pasted it into an English or Spanish to English translator. And it turns out the guy is asking, he's from Venezuela, and he says, I need to know how to get a hold of one of these hippo rollers because there's a community nearby where they desperately need it. They're having trouble getting a hold of clean water and transporting clean water. So it was really cool. I emailed Emily right away, and I was like, how do I put this guy in contact with people who can get him the hippo roller? And she emailed me back and gave me the contact info. So stay tuned, guys. If anything develops with this and we hear more of the story of this guy in this village that he lives in Venezuela, we're definitely going to put that up on the blog post and maybe do a video to keep it going, because the more, it's so interesting. One little blog post, he happened to see it, he happened to click on it, he saw the product, realized there's a need that can be filled. I really hope something good comes of it.
It's awesome.
So we've got another text question, and then we're going to start wrapping it up here because we're nearing the end of the 8 o'clock hour. From Twitter user, you got to put your name on there because we got to give you credit for asking these questions. What's next for you guys? Where do you go from here?
This one's all you.
Where do we go from here? We go to Stevens Point, Wisconsin, literally on the roadshow. And then we're in Cincinnati, and then Oberlin, and then we're finally finished. But if you're actually at ICFF, if you haven't had a chance to see the roadshow, you're at the ICFF May 15th, 16th.
Do you want to say what that is?
It's the International something furniture
International
fair.
Contemporary Furniture Fair.
Yeah,
it's in mid-May in New York during Design Week at the Javits Center.
At the Javits Center in Manhattan. But the trailer's going to be there. It's going to be at the Metropolis booth.
We are the Metropolis booth.
We are the Metropolis booth this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be there all 5 days or whatever the ICFF is. So that's specific to the roadshow. We can talk, beyond that if you want.
Yeah, and beyond once a roadshow is done, and you're getting back to your Project H projects, what's next on the list for those?
One concise.
Do it.
Okay, so this is like a whole other hour, but we are moving to the poorest county in North Carolina and getting certified as high school teachers to teach design thinking, construction and fabrication skills as part of a one-year high school curriculum. And every year there's a community service component too. So over the course of 1 year, we're working with a class of high school students, teaching design, building, and then building one big community project. So a greenhouse, bus shelters for the school bus system.
Wow.
Home renovations for the elderly. So if you know Rural Studio, which is the design build program out of Auburn, which is fantastic and very well known, we've taken some inspiration from that model, but tried to apply it locally where we're not importing design talent, but trying to build it from within at a high school level.
How exciting. And so are you going to find a way to document that? Is there going to be a corresponding website or blog or video post?
All of the above,
students will be doing something, absolutely. And again, we have to teach that as well. These students are going to be responsible for that documentation,
So where can people find out more information about what you guys do?
ProjectHDesign.org. There's a whole section on all of our projects. We have about 20 different projects going on right now, one of which is the Roadshow, one of which is Studio H, the design build program in North Carolina, and about 15 others. More than 15 others. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for making it out again. What do you got there, Chuck?
Hi, sweetie, drop these
Oh,
off.
Hi, Sweetie, drop these off. Thank you, Hi, Sweetie. We've got candies from Hi, Sweetie that we're all about to devour as soon as we turn off the camera. So thank you from Hi, Sweetie, and also from Samana Mason for having us here every week. SamanaMason.com. They do Cusp Conference. CuspConference.com. Look up their Twitter feeds. I'm sure Andrew is posting them in the chat room. We love you, Samana Mason. And thank you guys again, Project H.
Thank you.
For coming out. Emily and Matt, thank you so much. And that's Design Chat. We're going to be on next week. We don't have a guest booked, but I'm sure we will very soon. And you can just see my eye. Thank you guys for coming. Check us out on Twitter at Hoopajube is me, at DesignChat is DesignChat, and then DesignChat.info. We're going to be updating the guest page very soon. And subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Just go to iTunes and search for Design Chat. We've got a Facebook group. I just announced we've got some Exclusive videos are going to be posted to the Facebook group, so you can only see them if you sign up there. And submit something for the poster contest, designchat.info/contest or /poster. Either one, find it. You're smart people. So I'm just going to close by showing, without dropping the iPad. Eric, your iPad is safe. The rest of the you can stay. You don't have to run. It's okay. The rest of the Airstream trailer, come check it out. ProjectHDesign.org, and then DesignRevolutionRoadShow.com. So thank you guys for coming. This is Design Chat. Bye-bye. Yay.
Bye. All right, I have to pee.